What you take about Tyler Perry's recent movie Straw? Drop a comment. Let's have a conversation about it. I need a new topic for the next episode. So, in the previous month, I started a podcast called Couch in the Middle. Unfortunately, I couldn't follow up on it as usual. I get to jump on a lot of ideas and um, you know, sometimes you become too creative, you start something and then you fail to follow up. Speaking about starting something, today I wanted to really talk about the concept of starting. What does it mean to me? Um, and through my experience, in the entrepreneurship space, because I consider myself more of an entrepreneur than an artist. I don't really see myself as an artist as much as other people would say I am. And I've seen other entrepreneurs that are really creative outside there. Um, yes, they might consider themselves artists because the concept of defining self, I think, really lies with, whoever that defines it, especially the owner. Even if people would say I'm an artist, on my side, I would consider myself, yes, creative, but artist, I think now it requires certain levels, to become that. But, I acknowledge and give thanks to whoever that consider me as an artist. But also, I think the idea of having these titles getting into our head is the one that actually makes me repellent towards the concept of an artist. I've seen behaviors of artists, and my background is business. I've been in the business space for some time, and there's so many things I've learned along the journey. And I would really like to share some of my experience, some of my thoughts. That's the reason why I started Couch in the Middle. I wanted something so simple, something that won't have to rely more on heavy production. Well, I haven't done like really heavy production, but I didn't want something scripted, something planned. I just wanted something that is easy to consume, but really delve into some of the important topics that needs to be, considered or talked about, because in the current days, there's so many people that are unemployed. There's so many people who are rebellious in the conventional way of doing things, and as a result, we've had so many creative minds emerging. So now the concept of starting has been one of the topic, that's rotating everywhere from here and all over the world. If you go online and maybe you go on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or wherever, LinkedIn, you type something like how to start a business or what does it require to start anything. Basically, you would hear people saying just start. So many people would go on the concept of starting. Just start. But what does that mean? It's a simple statement, a simple concept to digest. It really doesn't need that much. It's not that deep. Starting is starting. There's really one way of starting, is to really start something. But when you really consider the concept, what do people mean when they say you need to start? Because to a certain extent, it becomes confusing for one to start something that they don't really know. Yes, I might have the interest, I might have ideas, because having ideas, I think it's one, even though it's difficult, but it's one of the easy stages that one can embark on, especially in the business journey or creative journey. Having an idea is the first phase. It's easy, but now taking that idea out and see it manifest, it becomes another thing, hence the concept of starting, because a lot of people would come with so much pop-up ideas. In my business experience, I've had so many people coming to our store. We once had like stores at one of the malls in Johannesburg. In fact, two stores there, and it used to be one of the rehabilitation spaces, a space of healing. That's what I considered a space of conversation, a space of community, where we would collaborate, we would have conversations that are interesting, that would hook some of our customers and turn them into friends. That space was so amazing and magical for me, at least, because I've had like a lot of people coming into that space and starting conversations that I wouldn't have started, on my own. I've seen people coming then with ideas, because it's always that thing to see young people doing something amazing, and you think also they've got maybe an amazing idea that would turn their lives. And as a result, we've had people that came and said, look, I've got this idea. Others, it's genuine because they've seen us moving and they think maybe if they can collaborate with us, it could actually work. And so a lot of people jump into these pop-up ideas, and I think the idea of romanticizing ideas became a thing, because a lot of them would romanticize this thing of, oh, I've got an idea, oh, if you think about it, this could make money. And a lot of these ideas never came into fruition. I think one of the reason behind it, it's because of the concept of starting, because once you give birth to an idea, it requires you to now nurture it, otherwise then an idea becomes a miscarriage, so you'd impregnate yourself with that idea, and it grows in your mind, it becomes beautiful, it's amazing, but you need to also take care of it, isn't it? Just like a baby, because really ideas and businesses, they become babies, a baby that you nurture until it's fully grown, and to an extent where it can take care of its own, just like a baby. So once you impregnate yourself with that idea, it then requires you to give birth to it, and once you give birth to it, you also need to nurture, the idea, because if you look into the stats, a lot of entrepreneurs don't actually see their first 3 years. A lot of them would die in their first 3 years. I think the result is basically simple. Well, it's not really that simple, but I think what I'm trying to convey is that then the obvious becomes the answer to the failure of the businesses. One of those is failing to enjoy, failing to adapt to time, failing to even update your ideas. One of the key phrases that I've learned in entrepreneurship is never fall in love with your first idea. And it's one of the phrases that I've learned while I was starting in this entrepreneurship journey, not to fall in love with my first idea. I think that became something that stuck in my mind for too long, and it grew me as a person, as an entrepreneur, because I started realizing that I don't have to stick too much into my ideas and do not allow others to feed into the same idea. It takes a village to raise a child. So once you have given birth into the baby, it means that allow others to pop in their ideas, allow others to pop in their know-hows, their experience, their feedback. And sometimes people take those feedback as attacks, especially creatives, special artists, because they fall in love with their idea, and as a result, they do not grow. But part of maturing, I think, is also understanding that you need to take feedback. That's what human design is for. Human-centered design is for. That's what others might know it as consumer behavior. Once you have given birth into an idea, honestly, if you manage to start, just know that the idea does does not belong to you. It's no longer yours, It belongs to whoever that you have created for. So I think now one of the biggest problems is that we fall in love with this idea, and once we impregnate ourselves with these ideas, we keep them to ourselves. We think that it's not ready enough, it's not the time, it needs expensive budget, it needs fancy resources, it needs experts, it needs all sorts of excuses not to do it, because that's what the brain does. Your mind will always find the closest excuse not to do something. So people, they get too comfortable with that notion, and as a result they do not start. Now, the concept of starting to me basically means that whatever idea that you have given birth to, it means that you need to nurture that. In simple layman terms, I'm trying to say that now I sound like a politician or something. But anyway, in layman terms, I'm trying to basically say that once you have a simple idea, see it to fruition. Put it down on paper. Yes, it's good. Plan. But the important thing is to start, Get whatever that you have, whatever you have access to, because you can never have everything you need in the beginning. And that's the honest truth, No one will have an idea and have everything. And I've heard people saying that I've need so much money to do this thing. And it doesn't work like that. You need to be the first person to invest in your own idea. If you come up with something, start the thing, take whatever that you can, the resources that you can. If you have to convince someone to start the thing, then do so, because that's what it takes for you to make what you're supposed to make, Convince those people, tell them this is what you have, show them, and as a result, you need to be able to start, put it out there. As rough as it is, as bad as it is, because I don't believe in the concept of starting up there. You can't start perfect. You can't start with like an amazing thing. Like, if you have to do that, then it means you only have one way. If you start from the top, the only way is to go down. However, if you start up, at least you allow yourself a chance to grow. You allow a chance to take off, learn, and then, you become something. That idea, you basically creating mastery, because that's what you need. You need the experience to become the master at what you do. So starting to me means that you need to initiate these ideas without having to think too deep about it, without having to complicate the entire thing. It's not only me, I know you have too. We've seen like so many people that are currently successful. They are making it online. They have successful businesses. They're prestigious artists that have started with basically nothing. To give an example, I saw a video by Meg G when he started his podcast. I think he used to shoot with an iPhone, and there's a video where he was celebrating having, I think it was 115 views, and because he's the bearer of the idea, it was so thrilling to him, and I could relate, because I've seen how much this smaller milestone meant to me, you start something, once you see it reach a certain milestone, it really brings joy to you to see that, the thing that I've started, it actually works, people are receiving it positively, and it brings joy. When I saw that video, I was very thrilled. I could relate. It's an amazing video, but it just shows that the concept of starting basically means that believe in what you do, invest as much as you can in what you want to do. It doesn't matter if you invest, whatever that you can invest looks like 1%, but to you that should be 100%, because that's what you can afford at that time, at least. So that kind of concept, that kind of idea allows you then to to test this thing, to get results in return, to get feedback, and then there are those people who are early adopters that will probably fall in love with what you do, believe in what you do, and then they'll chip in their own ideas, they'll chip in their own know-hows. Others can even invest with their own money, not because they are looking for something in return. They probably believe in what you do. So this thing goes beyond just your know-how, your knowledge, or your understanding of business and creativity and art, your intelligence. It goes far beyond. This thing speaks directly to the higher divinity, if you believe in the universe, if you believe in God, the ancestors and angels, whatever you believe in, then do not stand in their way. This concept speaks to that. There's a divine power that will take over, that will push whatever that you have started to certain height, because what you are starting, it's probably not your own. It's probably not really something that you have started because you think you fell in love with the idea or whatever the case may be. I solely believe that some of these ideas are transferred, just like reincarnation. They once lived before, and as a result they will be transferred back to you, and the divine power will sort of like allow you your path, because it's what you are supposed to be on the journey. So don't doubt yourself, don't complicate things, just start. Let's do this thing. Shout out.